And here we go. Let's move on to what we have. A reflex. So let me slow down to all the things to kind of remind you. So cervical enlargements. There are two general enlargements in the spinal cord, and they are one at the neck. So what do you call them? Cervical. And that essentially reaches out to the arms, right? So it's right above the arms. And the second enlargement is at the lower back. So it's called lumbar. Why would you call it lumbar, and where does it supply? Well, if it's in the lower back, I just call it lumbar based on the position of where it is. And why is it enlarged? Because I have legs, right? So two areas for enlargement are the cervical enlargement and the lumbar enlargement. Okay, let's go back. The end of the spinal cord. These are just terms that you will have to memorize. I'm going to test you on them, so you should know them. Maybe not by heart, but yes, you should know them. So I have the end of the spinal cord itself. In a child versus an adult, the end of the spinal cord and the height of where it ends is different. Why? Well, your body and your bones are still growing, and your spinal cord is still growing, but not quite as fast as your bones grow. So the end for a child might be L4, L3, and then as we get older, it finally ends at about the level of L2. What is L2? L2 stands for lumbar vertebrae number 2. So that's the length of the spinal cord. That's where it typically ends, not always. So there's always differences between different people, but that's a general consensus. The end cap or cover, right here, is a cone-like cover. So we say conus medullaris. Okay, that's pretty easy. So cone the cap. And then when you're jumping up and down, you don't want the spinal cord to be all over the place. So what do? You tie it down with a rope. What is the name of the rope that ties it down? It's called phylum. And because it's at the end, it's terminal, so they call it terminale. Phylum terminale. Phylum sounds like a filament. Filament sounds like a rope. So a rope at the terminal end of the spinal cord. So this is the spinal cord, right? This is the conus medullaris. And let's say that there are extensions that typically come off. They're called spinal nerves, right? At the very end, there's spinal nerves that come off that kind of make the end look like a horse's tail. So the word horse's tail is cauda. What is cauda? Cauda is tail, and equina, equine, is horse. So cauda equina is the horse's tail, and it basically, when we see an image, you're going to see it looks like this, and it occurs after L2, right? It's basically extensions down toward the leg. So I have conus medullaris, I have cauda equina, I have phylum terminale. Well, in order to hold the spinal cord in place from right to left, I need extensions as well, right? Almost like tying down a tent in a windy day. So these extensions, how I remember it is dental floss. So denticulate ligaments. And these denticulate ligaments, as you're gonna, one of your jobs to do is to look up off what meningeal layer does it extend. Okay, so that is a question you guys are going to need to look up. This is a question you'll need to look up. So denticulate ligaments, off what layer, pia, arachnoid, or dura, we'll cover that shortly, off what layer do denticulate ligaments extend from?